Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again. Weapon balance changes in Once Human. We get those every month, and today we are covering the Frost Vortex, some buffs to Doomberger and Raiding Cache, and we're also getting Polar Jelly buffs and Lone Wolf Whisper. So I summarized everything in a sheet. The link will be in the description or in the pinned comments. You'll be able to find the weapon tier list, and that will be there. So Frost Vortex is getting balanced out a little bit. It's gonna do 20% more damage every 0.5 seconds for 4 seconds. We're gonna be able to spawn only maximum 1 vortex at a time. So instead of spawning more now, you'll be able to only refresh the Frost Vortex when you trigger it. And now when you spawn the Frost Vortex, it's going to instantly start taking damage as you spawn it without any delays. So that's how the keyword of Frost Vortex will work. Now moving on to Abyss Glance, the gun will now trigger Frost Vortex on the very first hit you do, but there's going to be a cooldown of 7 seconds, which you can wait it out, and you can reduce it furthermore if you just shoot 1 bullet, which will reduce it by 0.5 seconds. Frost Vortex damage frequency is now, instead of hitting weak spot, it counts as 2 hits. You will now just get more tick rate, so it's gonna tick as fast the Frost Vortex. We have Frost Vortex damage. It's, instead of dealing 250% extra damage if the enemy is more in the center of the Frost Vortex, it's now going to be dealing up to 50% if it's not PvP, and it will stack up to 10 times. Frost damage will stay the same as 30%. Then Silent Anabasis getting a nerf from 15% trigger chance to 12%. Since they're buffing the keyword, I guess they had to make this change just to not make it too OP. So we'll see how Silent Anabasis will play out. Technically, it's gonna get a buff because the tick rate is gonna be faster with the keyword effect. So people are asking and wondering, will you spawn less crystals? Because here it says that instead of 2 you will get 1. No, you'll just spawn less Frost Vortexes, while the crystals will still stay the same for the Anabasis. Ice Rain is also getting a little bit of a change. Now it will spawn Frost Vortexes when you crit by a 30% chance instead of 40. Honestly, it should have stayed the same, I think, but bullet reload now, you will reload instead of 50%, 20% bullets more, so 5% increase. Frost Vortex damage is getting changed, so now it's gonna get additional 30% damage. I don't think it's gonna be enough because this gun is based off crit more than elemental, so you also lose an extra Frost Vortex when you spawn with this gun. It's interesting, but I don't think anyone's gonna be playing this gun still. Frost Tactical Vest, we have Ice Spike damage increase from 100% to 120%, so 20% more. Cryoblast weapon mod is getting a damage rework, so instead of giving vulnerability and movement speed -10, it's now going to be changed to, after you trigger Frost Vortex, you will get 4% damage increase for 4 seconds, up to 5 stacks. Total 20%. It does say Frost Vortex. We will see if that works for Silent Anabasis. If it does, then that might be the new best mod for Silent Anabasis. Now, Vortex Multiplier renamed to Cryo Catalyst Weapon Mod. The damage stays the same, 10%. It's getting a new feature, which is going to be after triggering Frost Construct, you will get 5% Vortex damage for 6 seconds. And then they removed the extra Vortex that you trigger, and now it's just going to be gone. So in total, this is going to give you 15% damage increase now. Obliteration mod is renamed to Frostwave Wither. This is getting changed from 15% damage, stacking up to 45%, now to just 30% damage increase, which will decrease by 8% per second. Now for this one, I would say this is like a nerf / buff. You deal 15% less damage, and this is the mask mod you want to use for Abyss Glance, but mod is getting nerfed for mobbing, so if you're clearing multiple mobs. But for bossing, you're going to be getting that 30% damage increase, so I guess it's a nerf / buff. Then Polar Jelly is getting a buff, so when it ticks that wide damage, it's now going to be from 640 psi intensity to 800 psi intensity. It's all based from your psi intensity, so it's also going to be getting more vulnerability damage when you throw it on the mob. I think it's great, but I think they need to like optimize the throwing animations for this jelly. You sure can go near the mob and spawn it, but the throwing animation needs to be quicker, I think. But that's a nice change for the Polar Jelly. Then we have the additional ice spikes that it spawns, so that damage is getting changed from 215% intensity to 250, giving us 35% extra. Then we have Claymore Mine. I don't know what this even is, but instead of 2 Frost Vortexes it spawns now, it's gonna spawn only 1 when someone steps on the mine. So that's about it for the keyword for Frost Vortex. We have Raiding Cache. Instead now, you can trigger Fortress Warfare by hitting or reloading or weapon switching. 10 seconds cooldown. When you reload bullets, you will get extra 1 bullet. So basically 2 bullets every reload you do when you load the bullet in the shotty. When you load more bullets, you will get the higher damage bonus up to 80%. So every 1 bullet you load, you get 10% damage increase. And then mechanic is reworked. Bonus damage now scales with reload size up to 80%. So there you go. Not sure if this weapon is gonna be good even after that, but we will see. Doomberger is getting a buff again. Okay, how without that? It's now gonna be giving you reload efficiency for 15 seconds up to 3 stacks. So basically when you hit all your pellets on a mob, you're gonna get 8%, 8% again, and 8% again, total 24%. And that's gonna be only for PvE because it says after hitting a non-meta-human unit. For PvP, it still stays the same and it's not buffed for PvP. Then we have Lone Wolf's Whisperer. This dog is getting changed from 1015 damage based off your psi intensity. So each attack it does, it will now do 1500. That's kind of crazy though. The dog is gonna do so much damage now by just basic attacks. That's crazy. And it's gonna inflict 6.8% more vulnerability separate multiplier, which is also crazy. For those who don't know how the dog works, the 43.2% is just a separate multiplier that the dog applies, which makes you and your team do more damage. It's not stacking to weapon damage bonus, which is hella huge. And then we have Corrosion, which is getting nerfed. Huge nerf for PvP. Now you will not get the 200% crit damage anymore in PvP. You will not be able to stack it from players when you shoot them. Yeah, instead it's now only gonna work for PvE. So the gun is still gonna be good for PvP, I think. Like, it's still gonna do decent damage, just less crit damage for you. Well, that's about it for the adjustments. Now let's see what the devs said about these adjustments. They've noticed that the Frost Vortex keyword effect isn't performing as intended in some situations for the following reasons. It doesn't generate vortexes in optimal locations, and the damage is delayed and has slow damage buildup, requiring multiple vortexes to deal maximum damage. So they're going to optimize the locations where vortexes are generated, so they're more likely to hit more enemies or deviants. They've reduced the damage delay, shortening the interval between generation and dealing damage. They increased the damage of a single vortex. A single vortex will be able to deal more damage than 3 vortexes did previously. To compensate, we will slightly reduce the chance of triggering a vortex with Frost Vortex weapons. This change will enhance Frost Vortex overall damage and damage build-up speed. They will also adjust Frost Vortex and gear to improve the experience of using Frost builds. They will also continue monitoring each build effectiveness and usage rates to assess whether further adjustments are necessary. The buffs for Polar Jelly and the Lone Wolf, they said that they noticed that the Pyro Dino tends to outperform than other deviations, causing balance issues. These adjustments will buff Polar Jelly and Lone Wolf Whisper. In subsequent updates, they will enhance other deviations in batches based on priority to ensure they meet player expectations. To ensure a smooth transition, they will issue 3 blueprint conversion attempts to all players after this update. And that's it for these changes, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. I still think Abyss Glance is going to lack a little bit, but I'm not sure how these Frost Vortex's ticks are going to look like, so I would just have to see it in game. As always, guys, if you're not in my Discord, feel free to join it. If you have any questions, leave them down below in my Discord or the comments section. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace out.